My colleagues sabotaged my big presentation and took the promotion. I quit until my janitor friend said, "It's done." Then HR called her in. What happened next was very strange. "Hello. Thank you for your continuous support. This means a lot to us. If you enjoy the stories we share, kindly subscribe to this channel. It will be great if you can leave a comment on which city you are watching from. We might just give you a shout out in our next story. Today's special shout out goes to John Ray from Oklahoma. We are glad you enjoy our stories. Now let's dive into the details of today's story. I'd always thought the hum of Horizon Dynamics Open Plan Office was a kind of music, keyboards clacking like percussion, phones buzzing as the melody, the occasional laugh cutting through like a high note. That night, though, as I hunched over my laptop at 11 p.m., it felt more like a dirge. My eyes burned from staring at the screen, but I couldn't stop. The presentation was tomorrow, the presentation. The one that had finally shoved me out of the analyst cubicle and into a corner office with senior manager on the door. Months of sleepless nights, skipped dinners, and a caffeine addiction that'd make a barista wince had led to this. 62 slides of pure gold, pitching an AI system that could predict market shifts with freakish accuracy. My ticket up. The office was a ghost town by then, just me and the flicker of fluorescent lights. Well, me and Lena Carver. She sauntered over, her heels clicking like a metronome, a steaming mug of coffee in hand. "Still at it, Alex?" she said, leaning against my desk. Her smile was all teeth, the kind that didn't quite reach her eyes. Lena was my shadow at Horizon. Same department, same ambition, but where I was a grinder, she was a climber. Always networking, always charming the right people. I didn't mind her then. Competition keeps you sharp, right? "Almost done," I muttered, rubbing my neck. "Just triple-checking the data links." She slid the coffee toward me. "You're gonna kill it tomorrow. Want me to take a look?" Fresh eyes. I hesitated. My gut twitched, some faint alarm I couldn't place, but I was too tired to listen. "Sure," I said, sliding my chair back. "Just don't mess with my masterpiece." She laughed, and I trudged to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face to stay sane. When I got back, Lena was tapping away at my laptop. "Saved it to the shared drive," she said, standing. "Easier for you to pull up tomorrow." "You're welcome." She winked and breezed out, leaving me with that coffee and a nagging itch I couldn't scratch. I should have checked the files right then. Should have listened to that twitch. But I didn't. I finished the coffee, locked my laptop, and dragged myself home, dreaming of applause. The next morning, I walked into the boardroom like a gladiator stepping into the Colosseum. Suit pressed, tie straight, a triple espresso buzzing through my veins. The execs were there, Mr. Hargrove with his perpetual scowl, Ms. Patel with her sharp eyes, all waiting to see if I'd sink or soar. I plugged in my laptop, fired up the projector, and launched into it. "Ladies and gentlemen, this AI doesn't just analyze markets, it predicts them. Let me show you. Slide 1. Perfect. Slide 2. Golden. Slide 3. Wait. What?" The graph was gibberish, a mess of outdated numbers from last quarter. My stomach lurched. I clicked forward, and it got worse. Half the slides were blank, the rest a jumble of placeholders I hadn't seen since draft 1. Sweat beaded on my forehead as I stammered through an explanation, but the room was already shifting, Hargrove's scowl deepening, Patel's pin tapping like a death knell. I was drowning, and they were watching me sink. Then Lena stood up. "Sorry to interrupt, Alex," she said, her voice smooth as silk. I couldn't help but notice the glitch. "I've got something prepared. Mind if I step in?" Before I could choke out a no, she'd hooked up her tablet, and there it was, my presentation. My data, my charts, my words, polished to a shine under her name. She sailed through it, fielding questions with that dazzling smile, while I sat there, a ghost at my own funeral. By the end, Hargrove was nodding, Patel was clapping, and Lena was the hero. "Promotion material," Hargrove grunted as they filed out. I didn't even get a pity glance. Back at my desk, I stared at the wreckage on my laptop. Files gone, backup scrubbed, the shared drive empty except for Lena's miracle draft. It hit me like a freight train she'd played me. That coffee, that late night, help, it was a setup. My fist clenched so hard my knuckles popped, and before I knew it, I was typing a resignation email. "Effective immediately," I wrote, slamming the send key. I grabbed my bag, ignored the whispers rippling through the cubicles, and stormed out, the glass doors banging shut behind me like a guillotine. I didn't go home. Couldn't face the silence of my apartment, the half-dead plants mocking my failure. Instead, I ended up at the Rusty Anchor, a dive bar 2 blocks from Horizon where the beer was cheap and the lighting forgave your sins. I was 3 whiskeys deep, the bar stool creaking under me, when I started spilling it all. Not to the bartender, he didn't care, but to Sam, the janitor from work. He'd shuffled in, still in his gray coveralls, a mop-scarred hand wrapped around a beer. I barely knew him, just the guy who emptied my trash and nodded when I said hi. But that night, he was there, and I was a volcano. She stole it, Sam, I slurred, slamming my glass down. Every damn slide, every hour I bled for it, gone. And they clapped for her. Clapped. My voice cracked, and I hated it. Hated the tears burning my eyes, the way my hands shook. Sam just listened, his weathered face unreadable, those gray eyes catching the dim light like steel. He took a slow sip, then leaned in, his voice low and gravelly. "Don't worry, Alex," he said. "It's done." I blinked, the words sloshing through my whiskey haze. "What's done?" But he didn't answer. Just tipped his beer back, stood, and walked out, leaving me alone with the buzz of the jukebox and a question I couldn't shake. What the hell did he mean? I stumbled home after that, crashing onto my couch, the room spinning with betrayal and that cryptic promise. I didn't know it then, but Sam had just lit the fuse. And tomorrow, the whole damn thing would start to burn. I woke up with a jackhammer in my skull and a mouth that tasted like I'd licked an ashtray. The couch had swallowed me whole overnight. My tie still knotted around my neck like a noose. Sunlight stabbed through the blinds, and I groaned, fumbling for my phone on the coffee table. It was dead fitting, since I felt about the same. I plugged it in, figuring I'd order takeout and wallow in my self-pity a little longer. Quitting Horizon Dynamics had felt righteous last night, but in the cold light of morning, it just felt like I'd torched my own life. The phone buzzed to life, and a voicemail notification popped up. Unknown number, timestamped 8:17 a.m., barely an hour ago. I rubbed my eyes, hit play, and braced for a debt collector or some scam about my car's extended warranty. Instead, a crisp, familiar voice crackled through the speaker. "Alex, this is Cheryl from HR at Horizon. We need you to come back to the office. Something's happened with Lena. It's urgent. Call me when you get this." Click. I sat there, staring at the phone like it had just grown legs and danced a jig. Cheryl's tone was all business, but there was an edge to it, something rattled, maybe even scared. Lena. The name hit me like a slap, dragging up last night's whiskey-soaked rant. Her stealing my presentation, her smug grin as the board clapped, Sam's weird promise, "It's done." My stomach twisted. What the hell was going on? I didn't call Cheryl back. Not yet. I needed to see this for myself, figure out if it was a trap or a lifeline. I showered fast, swapped the rumpled suit for jeans and a hoodie, and chugged a stale energy drink from the fridge. The drive to Horizon was a blur, city streets smearing past, my hands tied on the wheel, Sam's gravelly voice looping in my head. By the time I pulled into the parking lot, my hangover was a dull ache, drowned out by a cocktail of dread and curiosity. The lobby was the same as always, glass walls, fake plants, the receptionist tapping away like nothing had changed. But the air felt off, charged, like the moment before a storm breaks. I flashed my old badge. Thank God they hadn't deactivated it yet, and took the elevator to the 5th floor. When the doors slid open, I stepped into chaos. The open-plan office was a hive of whispers and darting glances. People clustered around desks, heads bent low, voices buzzing like bees. I caught fragments as I edged through. "Lena's in with HR. They've got footage. She's toast." My pulse kicked up. Footage? Of what? I scanned the room, looking for answers, and that's when I saw her, Lena, striding out of the HR office at the far end, her face pale as chalk, her usual swagger gone. She didn't see me. Her eyes were locked straight ahead, lips pressed into a thin, trembling line. She looked like someone who'd just been gut-punched and was trying not to show it. I ducked behind a partition before she could spot me, my heart hammering. Cheryl emerged a second later, clipboard in hand, and waved me over. Up close, she looked frazzled, hair slipping from her bun, a coffee stain on her blouse. "Alex, thank Christ you're here," she said, voice low. "We've got a situation. Can we talk privately?" She led me to a glass-walled conference room, shutting the door behind us. The blinds were half drawn, casting slatted shadows across the table. "What's going on?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral, like I hadn't just quit in a blaze of glory 12 hours ago. Cheryl sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "Someone sent us evidence, anonymous drop, came in overnight. Security footage of Lena sneaking into your office 2 nights ago, messing with your laptop. And an email she sent to a friend, bragging about taking what's hers. It's damning, Alex. We're reviewing her promotion, and she's on thin ice. But we need your side. Did you know about this?" I blinked, my brain scrambling to catch up. Footage. An email. Someone had caught her red-handed and served it up on a platter. I hadn't known, hadn't even suspected she'd been that bold, but I wasn't about to admit how blindsided I'd been. "I knew she took my work," I said, leaning back in the chair. "Didn't know how she pulled it off till now." Cheryl nodded, scribbling something on her clipboard. "We're digging deeper. If this holds, she's out. But we need you back, Alex. Your project's too good to let die with her mess." I didn't answer right away. My eyes drifted to the window, and that's when I saw him, Sam, mopping the hallway outside, slow and steady like always. His gray coveralls blended into the background, but his head tilted just enough to catch my gaze. He gave a single, sharp nod, then turned back to his work. A chill ran down my spine. "It's done." His words from the bar slammed into me, and suddenly, I wasn't so sure this was random luck. "Alex," Cheryl prompted, frowning. "Yeah, I'll think about it," I said, standing. "Need some air first." I didn't wait for her reply. I pushed out of the room, weaving through the gossiping crowd until I hit the break room, empty except for the hum of the vending machine and Sam, now wiping down a counter. He didn't look up as I stormed in, but I wasn't playing coy. "What did you do?" I demanded, keeping my voice low but sharp. Sam didn't flinch, just kept scrubbing, his hands moving in slow, deliberate circles. "Morning to you too," he grunted. "Don't bullshit me, Sam. The footage, the email, Lena's imploding out there. You said it's done last night, and now this? What's your angle?" He stopped then, setting the rag down and turning to face me. Up close, his face was a roadmap of hard years, deep lines, a scar hooking under his jaw, eyes like flint. "Sometimes people get what's coming," he said, voice rough as sandpaper. "That's all you need to know." "Bullshit," I snapped. "You're a janitor, not a vigilante." "How do you even—" "Alex," he cut in, stepping closer. His stare pinned me, heavy and unyielding. "You want her to pay or not? 'Cause right now, she's sweating bullets, and you're back in the game. Don't ask questions you don't need answers to." I opened my mouth, then shut it. He was right. I did want her to pay. I could still feel the sting of that boardroom, the weight of those blank slides crushing me. But this was too clean, too fast. Sam turned back to the counter, dismissing me, and I stood there, fist clenched, torn between gratitude and suspicion. As I walked out, I caught Lena's reflection in the glass, pacing by her desk, phone pressed to her ear, her composure cracking. She didn't see me, but I saw her. And for the first time since yesterday, I smiled. Whatever Sam had done, it was working. But I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just stepped into something bigger, something that might burn me too if I wasn't careful. I couldn't get Sam's eyes out of my head. Those flint gray stares that cut through me in the break room, like he'd seen worse than my little meltdown and wasn't impressed. I left Horizon that afternoon with more questions than answers, the buzz of the office fading behind me as I drove home. Cheryl's offer hung in the air. "We need you back." But it felt like a leash, not a lifeline. And Sam? He was a puzzle I couldn't leave alone. A janitor didn't pull strings like that, didn't drop bombs on someone like Lena without leaving fingerprints. So who was he, really? My apartment was a mess when I got there. Takeout boxes on the counter, a wilted fern glaring at me from the windowsill. I ignored it, fired up my laptop, and started digging. Horizon's employee database was still accessible with my old login. Guess they hadn't cut me off yet. Sam's file was bare bones. Samuel J. Torres, 58, hired 3 years ago. No prior work history listed. Just a social security number, a grainy photo of that scarred jaw, and a note about references unavailable. It was a dead end, but it didn't sit right. Nobody that cagey just mops floors for kicks. I switched gears, Googling his name with random keywords: Samuel Torres investigator, Samuel Torres Horizon, Samuel Torres scandal. Most of it was noise, obituaries, LinkedIn profiles for unrelated Sams. But then, buried on page 4, I hit something. A faded article from the Boston Globe, dated 8 years back. P.I. Samuel Torres disgraced in corporate frame-up. My pulse kicked up as I clicked through. The story was a gut punch. Sam had been a private investigator in Boston, a good one, specialized in corporate espionage, digging up dirt on execs who cooked books or stiffed employees. He'd built a rep for being relentless, the kind of guy you hired when you needed leverage and didn't care how it got dug up. But then he'd taken a job tailing a VP at some biotech firm, caught the guy shredding evidence of a failed drug trial. Sam had photos, recordings, the works, enough to bury the bastard. Only it backfired. The VP flipped the script, planted fake evidence that Sam had blackmailed him, and greased the right palms. Cops raided Sam's office, found the proof, and his license was yanked. His wife left him, took their kid, and the article ended with a quote from Sam. "They won't bury me that easy." I leaned back, the screen's glow painting my face in blue. 8 years. Long enough to disappear, grow a scar, and end up mopping floors at Horizon. Long enough to hate the suits who chewed up people like him, or me, and spat them out. It clicked then. Lena's sabotage wasn't just my fight to him. It was personal, a ghost from his past wearing her face. But how'd he get that footage? The email? I didn't buy him as some tech wizard hacking servers between shifts. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of it. A text from an unknown number. "Check your car." No signature, no context. I frowned, grabbed my keys, and headed downstairs, the evening air sharp with a late March chill. My old Toyota sat in its usual spot under a flickering streetlight. At first, I didn't see it, just shadows and chipped paint, but then I circled to the driver's side. All 4 tires, slashed to ribbons, rubber sagging like deflated lungs. A note was tucked under the wiper, scratched in jagged pen. "You'll pay." Lena. It had to be. She'd seen me at Horizon, maybe clocked my smile as she unraveled. This was her swinging back, a warning shot. My hand shook as I yanked the note free, the paper crinkling in my fist. I scanned the lot, empty, just the hum of traffic a block away, but I felt eyes on me, prickling the back of my neck. I bolted back upstairs, double-locking the door, and paced the living room, adrenaline souring my stomach. She wasn't just sweating bullets anymore. She was pissed, and she knew where I lived. I didn't sleep that night. Kept the lights on, the laptop open, jumping at every creak in the building. By dawn, I'd made up my mind. I needed Sam, whether I trusted him or not. He'd started this, and he damn well better finish it. I showered, threw on a jacket, and drove back to Horizon on a spare tire I dug out of the trunk, the car wobbling like a drunk. The office was quieter today, the gossip dialed down to murmurs, but I didn't care about that. I found Sam in the basement, near the loading dock, pushing a cart of trash bags. "Nice detective work," he said without looking up, like he'd heard my footsteps and knew my vibe. "Tires." I froze. Saw you limping on that spare." Guessing it wasn't a pothole. He straightened, dusting his hands on his coveralls, that scar catching the dim light. "She's mad, huh?" "Yeah, she's mad," I snapped, shoving the note at him. "This was on my car last night. You'll pay. She's coming for me, Sam, and you're the one who lit the fuse. So what's the plan?" He took the note, read it, then handed it back, his face unreadable. "Plan's the same. She goes down. You don't." "That's not a plan. That's a slogan," I said, my voice bouncing off the concrete walls. "She knows I'm involved now. What's next? My windows." My throat. Sam stepped closer, his bulk filling the space between us. "Listen, kid," he said, low and steady. "I've been where you are cornered, scared, ready to swing. You don't win by panicking. Lena's desperate, sloppy. That's her weakness. I've got more on her, enough to sink her for good. But you gotta trust me." "Trust you?" I laughed, bitter. "I don't even know you. You're a ghost with a mop and a grudge. Why should I?" "Because I've lost everything once," he said, and for the first time, his voice cracked, just a hair, but enough. "I won't let her do that to you. Not if I can help it." I stared at him, the weight of that hitting me hard. His past wasn't just a story, it was a wound, still bleeding under those coveralls. And me? I was pissed. Yeah, but I wasn't alone. Not yet. Fine, I said, exhaling. What's the next move? He smirked, faint but real. We wait. She'll dig her own grave. Just don't get in the way. I nodded, but as I walked back to my car, that note burned a hole in my pocket. Sam might have been a shadow with a plan, but Lena was a storm, and I wasn't sure either of us could outrun her. I couldn't shake the image of those slashed tires, the way the rubber sagged like a body bled dry. Lena's note, "You'll pay," sat on my kitchen counter like a live grenade, daring me to ignore it. Sam had said to wait, to let her dig her own grave, but waiting felt like handing her the shovel to bury me instead. By the time I got back to Horizon that afternoon, my spare tire wheezing under the car, I decided. If Sam had a plan, I wasn't just riding shotgun, I was loading the gun. The office was a pressure cooker, the air thick with whispers and sideways glances. Lena's desk sat empty, her usual swarm of sycophants scattered. I heard suspended pending investigation from someone by the copier, and my gut twisted with a mix of relief and dread. Suspended wasn't fired. She was still out there, still dangerous. I found Sam in the server room, a concrete tomb buried beneath the building, all humming machines and flickering lights. He was hunched over a panel, toolbox open, looking more like a tech than a janitor. "You shouldn't be down here," he said without turning, his voice bouncing off the walls. "Neither should you." I shot back, stepping closer. "What's the play, Sam?" "She's not done. She trashed my car, left a threat. I'm not waiting for her to escalate." He straightened, wiping his hands on a rag, and fixed me with that flinty stare. "She's already escalating. That's why we're here." He nodded at the server rack, a tangle of cables and blinking LEDs. "Her office phone's tied to this system. I've got it rigged. Every call she makes, we hear." I blinked, processing. "You're tapping her phone?" "How?" "Old tricks," he said, smirking faintly. "Used to do this for a living, remember? She's been calling lawyers, friends, anyone who'll listen. Panicking. Give her enough rope, she'll hang herself." I crossed my arms, skeptical but intrigued. "And if she doesn't?" "She's not stupid, Sam. She'll figure out it's us." "That's where you come in," he said, tossing me a USB drive. "Found your original presentation files, deleted, but not gone. Server keeps backups. Get those to HR, tie her to the sabotage. I'll handle the rest." I caught the drive, its weight a small anchor in my palm. My work, my blood and sweat, still alive. It was a lifeline, but it came with a catch. "You're asking me to waltz back in there, play nice, while she's out for my head." "No," he said, stepping closer, his bulk filling the space. "I'm asking you to fight smart. She's a cornered animal. Lash out, she wins. We stay calm, she loses everything." I wanted to argue, to tell him calm wasn't an option when my tires were shredded and my apartment felt like a target. But his eyes held that scarred resolve, the kind that had survived worse than Lena Carver. I nodded, pocketing the USB. "Fine, but I'm not sitting on my hands. What else you got?" He hesitated, then pulled a recorder from his toolbox, a tiny black thing, scuffed but functional. "Her latest call. Listen." I hit play, and Lena's voice crackled through, taut with fury. "I don't care what it costs. Find out who's screwing me. Alex Reed's behind this. I know it. Dig up dirt. Tail them, whatever it takes." A man's voice mumbled agreement, and the line went dead. My stomach dropped. She'd hired someone. A personal investigator, maybe worse. "She's coming hard," Sam said, reading my face. "Means she's scared. We've got her on the ropes." "Scared doesn't mean stopped," I said, shoving the recorder back. "I'm a target now." "You were always a target," he countered. "Difference is, now you've got me." That night, I barely slept. The USB burned a hole in my pocket as I uploaded the files to a secure drive, emailed them to Cheryl with a note. Proof Lena stole my work. Check the timestamps. My apartment felt like a cage, every car horn outside a threat, every shadow a knife. Around midnight, glass shattered downstairs. I bolted upright, peering out the window. My front stoop glittered with broken bottle shards, a brick lying in the wreckage. No note this time, just rage in the dark. I called Sam, hands shaking. "She's here." Brick through my window. Stay put, he said, calm as stone. I'm coming. He showed up 20 minutes later, coveralls swapped for a beat-up leather jacket, a flashlight in hand. We checked the street. Nothing but tire tracks in the mud, too smudged to trace. She's sloppy, he said, kicking the brick. Good. Good. I snapped. She's unhinged, Sam. Unhinged breaks faster, he said, meeting my glare. We're a team now, Alex. You in? I looked at the shards, the USB in my pocket, the man who'd lost it all and still stood here. Yeah, I said, voice steadying. I'm in. The Horizon Dynamics Gala felt like stepping into a lion's den dressed as a steak. The ballroom sprawled under a ceiling of crystal chandeliers, their light bouncing off polished floors and fake smiles. I tugged at my tie, the knot a noose against my throat, and gripped a glass of soda until my knuckles whitened. Tonight was supposed to be Lena's coronation, her commendation for brilliant innovation, a plaque with her name etched in gold. Instead, it was our trap snapping shut. Sam had promised a reckoning, and I was here to watch it bleed. The past week had been a tightrope walk. I'd fed HR the USB files, my original presentation, timestamped and pristine, proving Lena's theft beyond doubt. Cheryl had swallowed it whole, her emails growing terser as the investigation tightened. Sam, meanwhile, had been a ghost, slipping me updates in the shadows, audio of Lena's frantic calls, her hiring a PI to tail me. I'd spotted the guy, a wiry creep in a black sedan, outside my apartment twice, his cigarette glow a red eye in the dark. I'd lost him in traffic once, bolted through a grocery store's back exit another time, but the weight of being hunted clung to me like damp rot. Now, the gala thronged with execs in tuxes and gowns, champagne flutes clinking like a toast to their own egos. I scanned the crowd for Sam. He ditched the coveralls for a caterer's vest, blending in with the tray-wielding staff, an invisible man with a loaded gun. We'd planned this down to the second. During Lena's speech, he'd hijack the projector, splash her crimes across the screen for all to see. My job was simpler: stay visible, keep her eyes on me, let her think I was the threat until the axe fell. She took the stage at 9:17 p.m., a vision in emerald silk, her hair swept up like she'd already crowned herself. The spotlight bathed her in a halo, and my stomach churned. Thank you, Horizon, she began, her voice a velvet blade. This honor reflects our collective drive, my commitment to pushing boundaries. The crowd lapped it up, Hargrove nodding from the front row, Patel scribbling in her notebook. I edged closer to the stage, my soda abandoned on a table, every nerve screaming for the drop. Sam's signal came, a flicker of his tray catching light near the tech booth. I locked eyes with him, nodded, and he vanished behind a curtain. Lena was mid-sentence. Innovation demands boldness. When the projector hummed louder, its glow stuttering. Her slides dissolved, and the room hushed. Up flashed grainy security footage. Lena, 2 nights before my presentation, slipping into my office. Her face was unmistakable, smirking as she plugged a drive into my laptop, her fingers dancing over the keys. A murmur rippled through the crowd, head swiveling. She faltered, her mic hand trembling. What turned that off? But it kept rolling. Next came her email, blown up in stark white. Alex's work is mine now. They'll never know. Gasps erupted, Hargrove's scowl twisting into fury. Then her voice sharp, venomous, from one of Sam's recordings. I'll bury anyone who gets in my way. This is my game. The ballroom exploded. Shouts, chairs scraping, Lena's mask cracking as she stared at the screen, then at me. I stepped forward, couldn't help it. Bold enough for you, Lena? I said, loud enough to carry. Her eyes snapped to mine, wild with recognition, and the crowd parted like a sea sensing blood. She dropped the mic, feedback screeching, and bolted off stage, her heels clattering down the side stairs. I followed, adrenaline roaring, weaving through stunned suits and spilled drinks. She hit the hallway, a green blur, and I caught up by the service exit, grabbing her arm. Let go. She snarled, wrenching free, her nails raking my wrist. Up close, she was a mess, mascara streaking, breath ragged, that silk dress wrinkling like her composure. It's over, I said, voice steel. You're caught. Done. She laughed, a jagged, unhinged sound. You think this ends me? I've got friends, Alex, people who'll make you regret this. You and that janitor rat. She lunged, shoving me hard against the wall, my shoulder slamming into plaster. Pain flared, but I held ground, grabbing her wrist again as she swung a fist. Security burst through the door, two burly guys in black, yanking her back as she thrashed, screaming, "You set me up." "It's a lie." They dragged her toward the lobby, her curses echoing, and I slumped against the wall, chest heaving. The crowd's buzz filtered through, Hargrove barking orders, Patel on her phone, the gala imploding behind us. Sam appeared at the hall's end, vest swapped for his jacket, a ghost slipping through chaos. He didn't speak, just gave that faint smirk, a hunter satisfied with the kill. I followed him outside, the night air biting my flushed skin. "That was insane," I said, rubbing my wrist where her nails had bitten. "She's gone, right?" "Career's ash," he said, lighting a cigarette, the flame briefly illuminating his scar. "But she's not caged yet. Watch her back." I nodded, the high of victory souring fast. Lena's threat, "Friends who'll make you regret this," rang in my ears. The parking lot stretched dark and empty, my car a lonely speck under a flickering light. Sam clapped my shoulder, then melted into the shadows, leaving me with the echo of her scream and a sinking feeling that this wasn't the end, just the eye of the storm. The gala's afterglow didn't last. Victory tasted like ash by the time I stepped into the parking lot, the night swallowing the ballroom's glitter. My car sat alone under a buzzing streetlight, its shadow stretching long and jagged across the gravel. The air was cold, sharp with the bite of early spring, and my breath fogged as I fumbled for my keys. Sam's warning, "Watch your back," clawed at me, but I shook it off. Lena was down, her career torched. She'd screamed her way out in cuffs, hadn't she? I wanted to believe it was over. I should have known better. Halfway to my car, gravel crunched behind me, not the casual shuffle of a late guest, but a deliberate, stalking rhythm. I turned, heart lurching, and there she was, Lena, a silhouette in that crumpled emerald dress, her hair a wild halo in the dim light. Something glinted in her hand, a knife, short and wicked, catching the streetlight's flicker. Her face was a mask of rage, mascara-streaked eyes burning into me. "You," she hissed, voice low and venomous. "You think you've won?" I froze, keys slipping in my sweaty palm. "Lena, put it down," I said, stepping back, my sneakers grinding against stone. "You're done. Don't make it worse." "Worse." She laughed, a brittle, shattering sound, and advanced, the knife slashing air as punctuation. "You took everything, my job, my life. You and that janitor scum set me up, and I'm the one who pays." Her words were a snarl, her steps unsteady but relentless. I backed toward my car, hands up, mind racing for an out. "Lena, listen," I said, voice shaking but firm. "You stole my work. You played dirty. I just fought back. Put the knife down. Walk away. Walk away." She lunged, the blade arcing toward my chest. I twisted, stumbled, gravel biting my knees as I hit the ground. Pain flared, but I rolled, dodging her next swing. Wilder, sloppier, her fury unraveling her aim. "You don't get it, Alex," she spat, circling me like a vulture. "I had friends, big ones. They'll bury you for this. You're dead either way." I scrambled up, palms scraped raw, and grabbed a fistful of loose stones, hurling them at her. They pinged off her shoulder, her dress, buying me a heartbeat to breathe. "You're delusional," I snapped, circling back. "Your friends won't touch this. You're a liability now. Give it up." She shrieked, a raw, animal sound, and charged again. This time, the knife grazed my arm, hot, stinging pain blooming as blood soaked my sleeve. I yelped, clutching the wound, and kicked out, catching her shin. She staggered, cursing, but didn't drop the blade. My vision tunneled. Fear, adrenaline, the thud of my pulse drowning out the distant hum of traffic. She was unhinged, beyond reason, and I was running out of ground. Headlights sliced through the dark, tires screeched, gravel sprayed. Sam's beat-up truck roared up, skidding to a stop between us. He leapt out, no mop handle this time, just his fists and a snarl. "Drop it, Carver," he barked, voice like a gunshot. Lena spun, slashing at him, but he sidestepped, quick for his size, and grabbed her wrist, twisting hard. The knife clattered free, skittering across the lot, and she howled, clawing at his face with her free hand. "Get off me," she screamed, nails raking his cheek, drawing red lines. Sam grunted, slamming her against the truck's hood, hard enough to stun, not kill. She thrashed, spitting curses. "You're nothing, Torres." A washed-up nobody. But he held her down, his grip iron. "Shut it," he growled, pinning her arms. Sirens wailed, closing in, red and blue lights flashing at the lot's edge. I staggered back, blood dripping through my fingers, watching as two cops barreled out of a cruiser, guns drawn. "Hands up." One yelled, and Sam stepped away, palms raised, calm as stone. Lena slumped, sobbing now, her fight bleeding out as they cuffed her. "She attacked me," I said, voice hoarse, nodding at the knife glinting on the ground. He stopped her. The cops nodded, one radioing for backup, the other hauling Lena to the squad car. She twisted, glaring at me over her shoulder, her voice a ragged whisper. "This isn't over, Alex. Not for you." The door slammed, cutting her off, and the cruiser peeled out, leaving silence and exhaust in its wake. Sam wiped blood from his cheek, his breath heavy. "You okay?" he asked, eyeing my arm. I nodded, wincing as I pressed my sleeve tighter. "Yeah, thanks to you." "How'd you know?" "Saw her slip out after security let her go," he said, fishing a rag from his truck and tossing it to me. "Figured she'd snap. She's got no play left but spite." He paused, then handed me the knife sheath, scuffed leather, oddly heavy in my hand. "You're free now," he said, voice softening. "Don't waste it." I tied the rag around my arm, the sting grounding me. Free. It didn't feel real, not with Lena's last words echoing, not with blood soaking my cuff. But Sam's eyes held that scarred certainty, the kind that had survived hell and kept going. "What about you?" I asked. "She knows your name, Torres. That mean trouble?" He shrugged, lighting a cigarette, the flame briefly lighting his face. "Trouble's old news for me. I'll manage." He exhaled, smoke curling into the night, and clapped my shoulder. "Go home, Alex. Patch up. You earned this." I watched him climb into his truck, the engine rumbling as he pulled away. The lot was empty again, just me, my car, and the knife's glint in the gravel. I picked it up, sheath and all, and limped to my driver's seat, the adrenaline crash hitting hard. Lena was gone, locked up, her threats just noise now. But as I drove home, her whisper lingered, "Not for you," and I wondered if Sam's reckoning had bought me peace, or just time. The week after Lena's arrest was a blur of bandages and silence. My arm healed slow, the shallow gash from her knife scabbing over into an angry red line, a souvenir I hadn't asked for. I stayed holed up in my apartment, the broken stoop glass swept away, the fern on my windowsill still clinging to life despite my neglect. Horizon called twice, Cheryl's clipped voice on my voicemail, offering the senior manager gig like it was a prize I'd still want. "We need your vision, Alex," she said, all corporate polish. I didn't call back. The boardroom's applause had soured in my memory, replaced by Lena's snarl and the glint of her blade. I kept the knife, though. She'd been tucked in a drawer beside my keys. It felt like a talisman, proof I'd survived her storm. The cops had taken her original weapon as evidence, but Sam had handed me that empty sheath, and I'd found a spare blade in my toolbox that fitted. A grim keepsake, maybe, but it steadied me somehow. Every time I opened that drawer, I saw her cuffed, screaming, her emerald dress smeared with gravel and defeat. And I saw Sam, blood on his cheek, telling me I was free. Free. The word rattled around my head as I sat in Horizon's boardroom one last time, a Tuesday morning with rain streaking the windows. Cheryl slid a contract across the table, her smile tight, Hargrove looming behind her like a vulture in a suit. "Your project's greenlit," she said. "Full funding. Your name on it. We're sorry about Lena. Let's move forward." I stared at the paper, crisp and white, the salary and number that'd bury my student loans in a year. A month ago, I'd have signed in blood. Now, it looked like a leash. I saw the late nights, the whispers, the way they'd clapped for Lena until she fell. Horizon wasn't a ladder, it was a meat grinder, and I'd nearly been the next cut. "No thanks," I said, pushing the contract back. "I'm out." Hargrove's scowl deepened. "You're throwing away a future, Reed." "Maybe," I said, standing. "But it's mine to throw." I walked out, their stunned silence trailing me, the glass doors hissing shut like a final breath. My badge hit the trash bin by the elevator, and I didn't look back. Packing took 3 days. I boxed up my life, books, clothes, that damn fern, and shipped it to a new gig in Portland, a small firm doing AI for nonprofits. Less money, less glory, but no snakes in suits, no knives in the dark. The movers hauled my stuff out, and I lingered in the empty apartment, running my fingers over the drawer where the knife still sat. I almost left it, let it rot with the ghosts of Horizon, but I didn't. I slipped it into my bag, a weight I wasn't ready to shed. Sam was gone by then. I'd swung by Horizon one last time, hoping to find him mopping the halls or smoking by the loading dock. Nothing. Just a new janitor, a kid with earbuds, who shrugged when I asked. Later, at my mailbox, I found his note, slipped in with the bills, no envelope, just his blocky scrawl on a torn scrap. You're welcome. Keep your eyes open. No goodbye, no number, just that cryptic nudge. I folded it into my wallet, a second talisman, and wondered where he'd gone. Another building, another fight, mopping floors and waiting for the next Lena to cross him. The drive to Portland was 16 hours, split over 2 days. I stopped at a diner in Pennsylvania, rain hammering the roof, and burned my Horizon ID over a candle on the table. The plastic curled, bubbled, stank of chemicals as it melted into a black smear. The waitress glared, but I tipped her double, watching the last piece of that life dissolve. It felt good, clean, final. I sipped my coffee, the knife in my bag beside me, Sam's note in my pocket, and let the road ahead stretch wide. Portland was gray and damp when I arrived, the new office a brick building with a leaky awning and a team that smiled without teeth. My first day, I pitched an AI to track donor trends, small stakes, big impact. And they listened, no boardroom power plays, just nods and questions. I unpacked the fern, set it by my window, and watered it for once. It didn't die, neither did I, but Lena's whisper haunted me some nights. This isn't over, not for you. Her voice a ghost in the dark. The cops had her locked up, assault with a deadly weapon, no bail, but she'd hinted at friends, shadows I couldn't see. I checked my locks twice, skinned parking lots for black sedans, waked to every creak. Sam's words, keep your eyes open, became a mantra, a reminder that freedom came with vigilance. I'd never know his full story, I realized. The PI who'd fallen, the man who'd pulled me from the fire. He was a shadow by choice, fighting wars I'd only glimpsed. Somewhere, I pictured him, coveralls on, mop in hand, gray eyes catching the light as another snake slithered into his sights. He'd saved me, not just from Lena, but from becoming her, another cog in Horizon's machine, sharpened by ambition until it cut too deep. The knife stayed in my drawer, the note in my wallet, the fern on my sill. I was free, yeah, but scarred, stronger for it. And if trouble came knocking again, I'd be ready. Sam had taught me that much. That's the end of everything that happened. What do you think? Drop a comment below. Tell me your favorite twist, or where you'd send Sam next. If you love this ride, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss the next story. The shadows are always moving, and I've got more coming your way. Stay tuned.